most of us as new freight brokers mightily struggle with getting customers. Now, when we look at a freight broker business, we look and we say, man, that's a great business. I know that I can do well in it. But then it comes to you having to engage customers and make them a part of your team. That is more challenging. That can be a little bit difficult. And then when you add into that equation that now you're selling a service, you're not selling a tangible product, but a service, then that's a bigger challenge that you have to negotiate. But one thing is for certain, you have to negotiate that challenge. You have to get better at being able to bring on new customers and make them a part of your team. If you don't, your business will struggle and it will eventually fail. So we want to get over that as quickly as possible. What I'm going to talk to you about today in this video is what you are currently saying to your customers. You see, that's very important. What we are offering to the customer. Now, when we have something to offer, then we're pretty comfortable with offering that thing and offering with confidence. But when we don't quite know what it is that we're offering, when we're just saying, hey, we want to help you move some freight, well, that's not really offering a whole lot. That's just saying, hey, I want to help. But what we have to understand that there's a difference between wanting to help somebody and being in a position to help someone. So in today's video, I'm going to give you an example of the offer that you're currently making. And then in contrast, I'm going to show you an offer that you could be making that's a whole lot more attractive than what you're currently doing. But in order to make this offer, you need to be in the position to make the offer. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So come on inside, sit back, relax, and enjoy this video. Now let's get down into the business. All right, let's first start off talking about what type of business you currently have. Right now, you have a work from home, traditional, or everyday freight broker business. And there's nothing wrong with starting off that way. Most of us get started that way, but there is something wrong if you continue to stay in that posture for a prolonged period of time. Because what it does, it gives you all of the responsibility, does not allow for you to leverage the resources of other freight brokerages, other carriers. For example, you cannot go direct to carriers and get rates, especially when it comes down to LTL rates, because you don't have those relationships established with LTL carriers. So all the responsibility is on you to come up with a rate. So when a shipper sends you a request to get a rate, then you have to go into this long, drawn out process of trying to figure out, hey, how am I going to get a rate back to the shipper? I got to go in and post a load on a load board and hope that a LTL person will give me a call back and say, this is an LTL rate. But now if we're posting those loads on a truckload load board, then it's very unlikely that you're going to get a LTL rate. So the idea that you're going to get a discounted rate, a great rate to take back to your shipper, is not very likely because you're dealing with truckload carriers. So eventually we're going to want to move away from this manual or traditional way of doing business. Why? Because it limits us. It puts a cap on the number of loads that we can move. And anytime we limit the number of loads that we can move, we limit the amount of money that we can make. And you and I as freight brokers are not trying to put an intentional limit on the money that we make. So we want to make sure that we are only using this manual or traditional way of doing business for a short period of time. Now, how do we do that as business owners? Well, we have to go out and start making money. And then we don't want to start taking money out of the business. Yes, we're going to take on a draw sometimes so that we can bridge the gap in our financial lives. You're going to have to take on a draw every now and again. But we don't want to take money out of the business as a practice. We want to leave that money in the business so that we can go in and make the system upgrades that are necessary to make us better freight brokers, to make us more competitive. So at the end of the day, it's the systems that you have in place that help your business to operate more efficiently. It's not just based on your own efforts. Remember that word system, the acronym means saving yourself time, energy, money, and stress. All right, so now that we've discussed what type of business you're currently operating, what we want to go into now is the type of offer you're making to your shippers. And I'll be just straight up and honest with you, your offer is weak and it's very general. It is in some way saying to the shipper, I want to help. And it's great to want to help somebody. I think innately we are a people who always want to help someone else when we can. The question is, can we or are we capable of helping someone else? Are we in the position to help someone? All right, so before we get into these examples, I want you to know one thing. Calling shippers and making an offer, whatever that offer may be, is better than not making an offer at all. Calling shippers and saying something is better than not picking up the phone and not saying anything. We have to pick up the phone and start calling shippers. Now, the question is, what type of result have you been getting to this point? If you want things to change for you, if you want your results to change, you have to consider different ways of making your offer to your customer, because right now you're not getting the results that you would like. And naturally, if we're not getting the results that we want, we have to consider making changes to the way that we're offering our service. At the end of the day, you get one chance to make a first impression, so we want to make the best impression on our customers the very first time that we talk to them. So here's a change that you may want to consider making as you move forward. So first, I'm going to give you an example of a very general offer that new freight brokers tend to make because it makes them more comfortable. And then I want to give you an offer that a more seasoned freight broker makes because it gets more attention from shippers. All right, so first let's start off with the new freight broker and how he tends to make his offer. And remember that the new freight broker is more so trying to say something that he's comfortable with, saying something that he can get out quickly and doesn't have to stumble over. And sometimes we make that a very simple approach. And there's nothing wrong with simple, not saying that there's something wrong with simple at all, but we do have to look at the offer that we're making and see if there's substance there, if there's anything within the offer that would get a shipper's attention. So here's what a new freight broker would normally say. Hey Mike, it's Brandon over at Alliance Logistics. I wanted to give you a quick call today to find out if we may be able to help you move some of your freight. Very simple. Now let's look at another one. Hey Mike, it's Brandon over at Alliance Logistics. I was giving you a quick call today to see if we may be able to help you move some of your more difficult or your more challenging lanes. As you can see, both of those offers are drawn around a very general topic. Nothing really specific as to how I'm going to help you. Now let's look at a different way of approaching the shipper. Hey Mike, it's Brandon over at Alliance Logistics. When you get those LTL loads, the ones that are really difficult to get moved, the ones that sometimes take you days on top of days to get covered, what if I could give you a much better solution? What if I could say, hey Mike, I'm sending you over an email, and in that email is a link. And when you click that link, you'll see 40 to 50 LTL carriers with rates. And you can take a look at those carriers and rates and decide who you would like to move that load. And once you make your decision, it's as simple as clicking on one of those carriers to book your load. How would that impact your freight spend? How would that impact how you move loads? Now, when you take a look at both of those approaches from the seasoned freight broker and from the new freight broker, you can probably see that there's a stark difference. The seasoned freight broker is speaking to specific issues that the shipper is having. He's talking about how he's going to be able to solve the shipper's problem, and he's asking open-ended questions to get that shipper to talk so that he just can't say yes or no. Now, when we compare that to the beginning freight broker, the beginning freight broker is talking only about general topics. He's not speaking to specific issues that the customer has, and he's not asking open-ended questions. So, of course, those are going to get two different results. What do you want? Do you want the result that wins, or do you want the result that loses? I'm sure you want the result that wins. So we have to change the way that we are approaching the customer in order to get a different result. Now, a good question would be is, hey Brandon, how can I make an offer more in line with how a seasoned freight broker would make his offer? As a matter of fact, Brandon, how can I make an offer just like the offer that you just made when you said, hey, we're gonna send you a link over and you can take that link and then you can view what's available and choose what carrier you would like. How can I do that? Well, that comes with upgrading your systems. You have to start making money right now as a traditional freight brokerage. And as I said earlier, you don't want to get in the habit of pulling money out of the business. You want to keep that money in the business so you can upgrade your TMS system. So now, instead of just going to a load board and posting loads and hoping that a shipper calls you, you can go in and use your TMS and use tariffs to have access to LTL carriers and even have access to FTL carriers. Now, FTL carriers is a bit more fragmented because you have a lot of moving pieces. You have a lot of different types of carriers with owner operators. So it's not going to be as organized as the LTL side, but you still would have options on the FTL side as well. The idea is to change your business from a manual business so that it offers more automated features. That is the key. We're going to move from a manual or traditional freight brokerage more towards a digital freight brokerage, because we cannot just stay in this old way of doing business. We have to incorporate technology into our businesses so that we'll be able to provide better assistance to our customers. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I certainly hope this information has been helpful. If you want to learn more about the freight broker business, I'll leave a free link in the description. Once you click the link, it will take you to my website and you'll be able to register for my free 5-video series titled How the Load Movement Process Works. It will give you a look into the freight broker business, let you see how it works. That way you can take a look at it before you decide to come into it. And just in case you want to know a little bit more about that TMS that can change the way that you do business, change the way that you make your offer to your customers, I'll leave a free link right here. So until the next time, I wish you the very best in your life and business. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.